Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new edition of our online interview series. We want to move on with Uranium and IsoEnergy. Phil Williams, the CEO, is here with us. I'm a shareholder of the company, and welcome and good morning, Phil. How are you?
Good morning, Jochen. I'm doing great. How are you?
Super, perfect. I'm doing extremely well, I must say, because it looks like things are really moving in the direction as we wanted. And we will talk about uranium later, definitely. First of all, we should talk about your wonderful company because a lot of things happen. Maybe you can give us a short summary of 2024 in a little nutshell, what you have achieved.
Sure. Yeah, listen, 2024 was another big year for the company. As you remember, in the end of 2023, we merged ISO with a company called Consolidated Uranium. That was a company that myself and some partners started in 2020. We completed the acquisition late 2023. I came in and took over as the CEO. So 2024 was my first year running the combined company. And really the focus was a dual focus on Canada and the US. In Canada, we drilled at our Hurricane project at Laroque East. Very encouraging results, particularly in our winter program, in our summer program, which we're following up on right now. And I'm sure we're going to talk in more detail about that. And then in the United States, we opened the Tony M mine, which was a lot of work and quite rewarding. And when we got underground there, we were very pleasantly surprised by everything that we saw. It was in excellent condition. And now we're working towards the next steps of actually taking ore out of that mine and sending it down the road to the White Mesa mill.
Okay, super. Yeah, when you say you reopened it, this is not yet production in that sense. You reopened, you have access, everything. You were checking like infrastructure and things like this. What is the game plan to restart really production then?
Yeah, look, the next step of the plan with Tony M, and you're exactly right. So the mine had been last operating in the late 2000s, and it had been shut down. And so what we wanted to do was open up the portal, go in underground, see what the state of the underground workings were, do some mapping and sampling to understand where the ore faces are, and ultimately put together a mine plan. So that's the next step. So the next step is put together a mine plan, work on an economic study that we can deliver to the market and show everybody, hey, this is how we're going to mine it. This is the rates we're going to produce at. These are the costs, and this is the timeline. And so we're going to have a lot more information on that over the coming months. And we think that timing will dovetail with what will ultimately be a sustained, much higher price for uranium. And so the timing will be very, very good for us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you think that might be something for the next 2 years?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the mine is fully permitted. As I say, it's open. Technically, we could be taking ore out of it tomorrow, but like every miner, we want to have a fully baked plan before we get started. And so that's what we're going to do. And so I think realistically by second half of the year, if not early the following year, we could be taking ore out of the mine. And fortunately, the mill that we're going to send the ore to, the White Mesa Mill of Energy Fuels, they've restarted the mill. They're starting to process their own material there right now. And so it gives them a bit of time to work out the kinks there and get that mill properly up and running. And then as they ramp up, we'll be delivering ore at the perfect time for them as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, super. And then I understand you have the Rim mine, Sage Plan, and the Danaros mine also. That would be then, let's say, the next mining steps or steps to bring them into production?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole game plan here is we're going to sequence the operations. So we're going to start Tony M first, and then work on opening the next mines, those mines that you mentioned. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of a step back, Jochen, and look at some exploration potential. These projects, and even at Tony M, these projects have not really been explored using modern methods. And one thing we did over the past year is we really integrated our Canadian exploration specialists into our U.S. operations. And so we have lots of what we think is pretty low-hanging fruit to explore at all of our projects. And again, we'll have more information on that in the coming months. But look for us to get active drilling in a couple of those projects, probably mid this year, in the summer this year. It will probably be the right time.
Okay, super. And that raises also the question now after Mr. Trump was now inaugurated and he's the new president. I think he's very pro-mining. And I see that you have in Virginia Coles Hill, which is a really large and beautiful uranium project. So will that have a positive effect for you? Because there's a lot going on in Virginia.
Yeah, look, we absolutely expect so, and you're right about President Trump. He's pro mining, he's pro nuclear power. We've heard him talk about that very recently, and pro onshoring of the U.S. energy requirements. We're hearing actually very early on in this administration, of course, only a day in, that they're already looking at making uranium, putting it on the critical metals list or critical minerals list, which would be huge for it. I mean, we believe it's a critical mineral, and of course, lots of other countries around the world deem it as such. In the U.S., it's not the case today, but we think that is something that could have a huge impact. When we think about Virginia, this is one of these projects that in our portfolio that we refer to as a call option, and what we mean by that is it's a very large, high-quality project. In fact, it's the largest resource in the United States, over 160 million pounds of uranium. It's an order of magnitude bigger than any project, any resource in the United States today. However, it's had some historic impediments to development. The state doesn't have uranium mining regulations in place today, so we can't actually move the project ahead in terms of building a mine there. But we think that with everything that's happening in the Trump administration and there's his support for these types of projects, we think there's a great opportunity there to get some support for the project. And so we've got lots of plans to do that. And I think you're going to see a lot more information there. And again, we don't think there's a tremendous amount of value in our market cap today for that project, which is an opportunity, because if we can get some progress there, it's a hugely valuable asset in the current pricing environment. But where we think uranium's going, this asset is coveted and could be a tremendous benefit to the United States as a country, but also Virginia as a state.
Absolutely. No, I see it the same way. And you said it already, if we think where uranium is going, okay, maybe we should talk already about that. What's your view on the current uranium market? Because I think that those $75 spot price, I think it's a joke given the environment we are in.
Yeah, and listen, we think exactly the same as you. I mean, what we don't always see, and I don't think what the market always sees, is that what the day-to-day, week-to-week machinations of the uranium price, what's really driving it. And I can tell you, it's not fundamentals. It's not, when you look at the long-term or even the short-term, mid-term, and long-term supply and demand picture for nuclear power and then uranium supply, there's a massive disconnect. There's a deficit. I think everybody's aware of that. But what happens on a week-to-week basis on the spot price can be driven by other factors. So I don't get too hung up in where it is, other than having the fundamental belief that I think is backed up in real data that the price of uranium has to go much higher. Will it be a straight line? No. How fast will it go? Unclear, but it will get there. And, we've seen it in the past. It can move very, very quickly and catch people off guard. So, I think this is an opportunity for people to get positioned again in the space in front of, what's going to be a very positive couple of years.
Absolutely. And when I see what happened in Niger, what is now going on with the Inkai joint venture with Cameco, we are missing already like 4 to 8 million pounds production. So this is all narrowing the market on the one hand. On the other hand, the deficit will definitely not go away. And my feeling is that we are coming closer to a 2007 moment, right?
Yeah, look, and you're entirely right. And you mentioned a couple of examples. I could mention another multiple examples. Even BHP came out with Olympic Dam numbers the other day that were below expectations. Not millions and millions of pounds, but it's sort of death by 1,000 cuts, where you turn to virtually every project that's being that's in production or being advanced, and there's some kind of hiccup that can happen, and when you take it all together, it could be a very serious issue. So we need more projects, we need more discoveries, we need more supportive administrations in terms of permitting and licensing projects to go ahead. We think that's happening. We're obviously focused in what we think are the better jurisdictions in the world where you can move these projects ahead. Canada, the US, Australia could not be happier with where we are. You know, you've mentioned some other jurisdictions that are more challenging. It's not that they don't have great projects and could be opportunities, but we want to take that risk off of our plate and focus on, just your traditional exploration and mining risks, which, we think we're very capable as a team of managing.
Absolutely. Okay, let's come back to the company. You exercised your put option on the partnership with PurePoint. So what does that mean for you, let's say short-term, longer-term?
Yeah, look, I mean, we are very excited about the PurePoint transaction. PurePoint is one of these companies that's been around in the exploration game in Canada, in the Athabasca Basin for a long time. They have a tremendous portfolio of properties all over the basin. But what they had, which was particularly important, is the project immediately to the east of our Larocque East project where the Hurricane deposit sits. And we know that the prospective Larocque trend carries on to their property. And we also had a few projects that were adjacent to their properties. And so what we did in this joint venture was we put all of those properties together, created a very large land package, almost 100,000 hectares in the fairway, like the best part of the Athabasca Basin. And those projects have been, they've seen exploration. There are definitely mineralized intercepts on those properties, but there's tremendous blue sky. And so putting all those projects together in that joint venture, it's a 50-50 joint venture. The PurePoint guys are operating. They're tremendous operators. They've been doing it in the basin for a long, long time. And we're pretty excited with what's to come there. I think very shortly they're going to announce budgets for those projects this year. We're going to put a significant amount of capital as our 50% on our 50% basis to go advance those projects. And we're excited with what we could uncover there.
Okay, super. Then on the other hand, you terminated the arrangement with Enfield. May I ask what the reason for that was?
Yeah, and to be clear, it was terminated by Enfield, so we didn't terminate the agreement ourselves. And there's a very long story behind that. We certainly were very attracted to those assets. We thought they were a super complementary fit to what we're doing in Utah, and we thought that together we could do tremendous things there. Ultimately, the Enfield management and board decided that they were going to take another path, and so they went ahead and terminated the agreement. The shareholders of Enfield had voted for the transaction, so this is it's a pretty non-standard path for this transaction to have gone. But you know what, we're super excited with what we have, and we wish the Enfield guys the best of luck. There's many opportunities, I think, for us to collaborate with them going forward, particularly if they can get the Shooter Canyon mill up and running. We know it's got great potential. It's going to take a bit of time, I'm assuming, to get it going. But if they ultimately do, I think there's many ways that we could work together with them. So again, wish them the best of luck. And we've got a pretty enviable track record of M&A transactions in the company over the past few years. Very few transactions that we've started and haven't been able to complete. This is one of them, and we're going to learn. Lessons have been learned, and but again, we've got lots on our plate and tremendous opportunities to unlock value for our shareholders over the coming 12, 18, 24 months.
Absolutely. I see it the same way, definitely. And to unlock value, I think this is always has something been with the Hurricane deposit, and you are now in the 2025 exploration winter program. So how is it going there? What do you want to achieve?
Yeah, look, so really this is the biggest focus for our company is Larocque East. Everybody knows Hurricane. Hurricane is a world-class resource, the highest grade resource on the planet, almost 50 million pounds at 34.5% grade in the indicated category. The whole game plan here is to try to grow that resource, and that's what this drilling in this winter will try to accomplish. And it's really on two bases. The first is on a local basis. So the Hurricane deposit, and after spending a year at the company working with our exploration team, and we brought in quite a few new team members who are looking at that project with sort of fresh eyes, guys who have been around the Athabasca Basin for a long time. But there's two ways that we're looking at. One is near resource expansion. So the first 7 holes of our drill program are going to be immediately in and around the Hurricane deposit itself. When they were drilling it off in the first place, there were some very significant holes drilled outside of the existing resource at grades of over 1% U3O8 that were never followed up on, because when they tapped into the plus 30, 40, 50% material that was hit in the heart of the ore body, it was obvious that's where they had to focus on. And now, based on all the work that we've done in the last couple of years and the new eyes of our team, we've identified areas where we think, hey, we really should go and follow up on this. So there's 3 different areas in and around Hurricane that we're going to test early in this winter. And then more regionally, the concept that we've been trying to sort of work through in the geological model is this pearls on a string model, which is the way all of these deposits work in the Athabasca Basin. We have one pearl today. We have the Hurricane, and we have the Hurricane deposit. And when you look at the analogs for this deposit, and we'll just pick one, Cigar Lake. Cigar Lake forms as multiple pods of mineralization over a more than kilometer strike length. And in some cases, deposits in the basin are even longer than that, the mineralization. So we're looking further afield in our property, what we call regional. Our whole property length is about 9 kilometers of the prospective Larocque corridor. Based on drilling in the summer of last year, we have some very interesting zones all the way to the east of the project, which we're going to test later on this winter. And so again, really, we're giving ourselves sort of 2 opportunities to grow the resource in and around Hurricane, and also find brand new deposits on the rest of the property. So it's a really exciting drill program. It's getting underway right now. We've had some weather issues up in the Athabasca, by the way, but it was quite mild, and so it was hard to create ice. It's gotten very cold there. I think the other day it was minus 40. Not for the faint of heart, but that's what we need in order to create the ice, so we can bring in the machines and get the drilling going. And that's all happening now. So we'll be back to the market with information on that program, very, very quickly.
Okay, super. That means maybe at PDAC we can do an update?
Yeah, I would love that.
Perfect. Let's plan for that for sure. So you said you want to still grow the resource there, and it is the highest grade resource in the world. So to what extent you want to grow that before you do the next step? Because I can imagine that especially the US market is desperately waiting for those pounds to come online.
Yeah, I mean, listen, to what extent? I mean, we would like to grow it, as big as possible. It's really about what's there that will dictate how much we can grow it. But listen, I think Hurricane has obviously established itself as an important resource in the basin that will be developed over time. I think the thing that we need to talk about as it relates to that is what's happening on the other side of the border. And remember that the Hurricane deposit is basically bisected by a property border. On our western side, the borderline hits in the center of the deposit, and on the other side of the border is a property owned by Cameco and Orano, which they call Dawn Lake. They are very aggressively drilling out their side of the property. We've got some images on our website which show the sort of drill locations and pads that they've done to date. But we understand that they are also gearing up, like us, for a very aggressive winter program. And so how big does it get? Will not just be about what we can find on our side, but what they have and what they continue to find on their side. And together, this resource, I believe, will ultimately be one of the top resources in the basin. Again, which just gives me a lot of confidence that it is on the development track, and will be one of those projects that becomes a mine and ultimately, as you say, serves the uranium requirements for Canada's partners around the world, and the U.S. is, notwithstanding, some of the discussions that are happening today, given the Trump administration taking office, we are partners with the U.S. They have the largest reactor fleet in the world, so that means they are the biggest. They have the biggest demand for uranium, and Canada and the Athabasca Basin will be an important source of that supply for many, many years to come.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a Saudi Arabia for uranium, that's for sure. And so from that side, you have in the US and Canada, you have so many fantastic projects, and also you can advance to production here. Maybe one word to Australia. Is that a little bit, let's say, aside or a little bit slower because with the US and Canada, you can progress faster? Or do you say, well, no, Australia, it's also important for us, but we have a different approach?
Yeah, look, I think it's the latter. It's very important to us. And one of the things that happened in Australia last year was we saw a change of government in Queensland. So the bulk of our projects are in Queensland. We also have a very interesting project in South Australia where they have mines today, and lots of exciting discoveries and resource advancements happening in South Australia. But Queensland, where there also is a lot of resources historically, has had a government, state government that has had a policy against uranium mining. That government has now turned over, and the new government is in. And we think that increasingly we're going to, and again, just given everything that's happening geopolitically with nuclear power, with the need for uranium from Western countries, we think a light is going to shine on Australia and Queensland very soon. And so we don't have huge programs planned on those assets just yet, but we're very nimble as an organization. As if we see that on the ground, the politics are moving in such a direction that it makes sense to be more aggressive there, we can certainly do that. And we have resources, and we have tremendous exploration potential on a number of those projects. And so we have not forgotten about them, and we encourage investors not to forget about them, because there will be a moment in time where, it's going to make a lot more sense to put resources into Australia, and we're very well positioned there.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that's like, let's say, for the next decade, the development.
Yeah, well, listen, it's the whole point of the way we built this business. We have a pipeline approach. We want to have projects that we can sequence in over time. Some are in the production, some are in development, some are in exploration, and we keep moving projects in, ahead. And, this is the business model that big mining companies take. And so we have had questions in the past, well, why do you have so many projects? Well, nobody asked Barrick why they have so many projects. No one asked Cameco why they have so many projects. That is how you build a big company for the long term, and what we think is, a space that's structurally changing in terms of the supply and demand dynamics, and that's the best way to create value for our shareholders. So we're sticking to that business plan.
Absolutely, I like that. Last but not least, let's talk about money. How is the company financed and set up? Who are your largest shareholders? And with the money, I mean, do you have the money already in the bank to really bring Tony M in production?
Yeah, so the answer is the answer. I'll answer backwards. So the answer to that is yes. So we have, as of our last financial statements, we had about $35 million on the balance sheet in cash. We also have over $40 million of equities in other uranium companies, and maybe another day, Jochen, we should go through those companies, because we have significant positions in 5 different junior uranium companies, which we think have chances of being the next big stories, and to the tune of over $40 million. So on the balance sheet, over $70 million of cash and investments. Tony M, as we pointed out, is already open. So the capital is behind us, the large capital, and it's really just working capital to open that mine up and start taking ore, and we'll be able to convert that ore into uranium and sell it quite quickly. So we're very comfortable in terms of our balance sheet for Tony M. And in Canada, of that cash, we still have about 8 or 9 million of flow through dollars, and in Canada, remember, we use flow through cash to fund our exploration, because we issue those shares at a much higher price than the prevailing market price. We did that in January of last year. We still have quite a lot of cash left for that program. We're spending $5.5 million this winter. So we still have flow-through budget left for our summer program as well. So very well funded. In terms of our shareholders, our biggest shareholder is NextGen. They own about a third of the company and they were the founding investor in ISO and have been a supporter all the way along. We have 3 members of the NextGen board on our board. So we're very much a connected company to NextGen, and obviously very happy to be so, given the success that they've had at Rook 1. We're held very, very strongly by a number of ETFs, the URA, the URNM, the URNJ. And then the 2 other shareholders I would note, who are some of the leading investors in the uranium space, are Mega Uranium. That's a publicly traded company in Canada that owns equities in uranium companies. They're one of our biggest shareholders. And Sachem Cove, which is a uranium-focused investment fund in the United States. They would be Mike Alkin, who's the portfolio manager there, is absolutely, first of all, he is one of the best people you're ever going to meet in this industry, but he's also the most intelligent as when it comes to uranium market dynamics and companies around the world. And they own about 2.5% of our company. Have been a great supporter over the last few years.
Okay, super. One last question which just came to my mind for Tony M for the production start. Do you have all the permits? Is that all done?
Yeah, we're fully permitted. And again, but the next step is the mine plan and the economic study. And then we're working on a few interesting things there, as I said, on exploration, but also on something called ore sorting. We'll have more information out about that in the coming months. But so expect news releases and updates pretty regularly out of our business this year.
Super. I love it. Fantastic. I know why I'm a shareholder.
Well, thank you. And we appreciate your support. You've been there from the very beginning and an excellent champion for the company, an excellent champion for the space.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And honestly, I remember when I started to talk with, I think it was with Craig Perry at that time, and the stock was like 45 cents. And he convinced me. I mean, and you guys delivered. This is how it should be. Yeah, it's fantastic. That is the beauty of the mining business. Good team, good projects, good jurisdiction. You make it. Lovely.
Well, personally,
yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And we are in uranium because it's a shiny business, but the world needs it. Definitely. Super. Hey, Phil, thank you very much for your time. I would suggest you stay in the line shortly because I want to make an appointment for PDAC, definitely for an update. That's important. So thank you very much for your valued time. And I would say keep it going and hit us with good news.
Thanks, Jochen. Always great speaking to you.
Thank you, and to you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Phil Williams here for IsoEnergy. And the things look, the company look really fantastic. Uranium is great. You know that I'm a big uranium bull, but I'm also ISO shareholder and a long-term shareholder, to be honest. If you look also at all the analysts, their targets are already between 6 and 8 Canadian dollars. The stock today is $3.05 to $3.10 approximately. I would fully sign that too. And what I like is the concept, as Phil alluded to, they have so many different stages, and this is how you build a large mining company. And they will definitely go probably by next year then into the real full production. And this is fantastic. That generates cash flow, that generates profits, and they can develop further. And they're in the right jurisdictions, US, Canada, Australia. This is how you want it, and a super dedicated team. Really check out IsoEnergy. Make sure you get some stocks in your portfolio. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.